like I said, I started as a tour guide because of my language skills. Literally, it was by let's say accident. Someone called me one night, "Hey, can you help me translate from Dutch to English?" And because my Dutch speaking guide is sick, and I okay, cool, let's do that. And it was a great experience. Like I said, in that national park. And long story short, 2 years fast forward, I would get requests from the guests, either coming back, they would contact me directly, or guests in that tour company would ask me for TripAdvisor reviews. You know how important those are for a company.
Welcome to a new episode of Most Memorable Journeys. My guest today is a colleague because I think we both started off the same way, but he's in a different part of the world. He is originally from Germany, born in Berlin, but moved to Mexico and started off as a tour guide like I did many, many years ago, and now has his own company called Kay Tours in Mexico. Welcome to Most Memorable Journey, Kay Honig. Honig means honey.
Thank you. Yes, that is correct.
Are people making
Thank you
fun
very
of your
much.
name?
They used to back in the days, but actually, it was a nice introduction, introducing myself with my last name. Especially when the girls heard it, it was always a smile given.
It could be a lot worse, couldn't it? There's a lot worse than honey.
Absolutely. No, I did not suffer that much.
Okay, you were born in Germany, you grew up in Germany. What made you become a tour guide?
Well, I never thought about that actually back in the days, become a tour guide. I worked in the import-exports of flowers in Holland. I was traveling a lot in North and Central America, and basically fell in love with the country of Mexico, and as well with the Mexican girl. But that led me to eventually move to Mexico. It's a very condensed way of expressing the journey to become a tour guide. But I speak 4 languages, and in a tourist area, it's very easy to find work with the language skills. And in order to make a living, I started working as a tour guide for a company that was going into a national biosphere, a national park, very beautiful area in the south of Tulum here in Mexico. I really fell in love with the work, and you can probably chime in here and confirm that it is a very satisfying work when people that are coming on their vacation with an open mind and see what you see on the daily basis, but you share it with them, you explain everything to them, and at the end of the day, they are so thankful, they are so happy. They say goodbye with a big hug, and you left an impression, and that is a very, very satisfying part of this work, and that is why I kept doing it. I really enjoyed it. I would have never thought that I would enjoy something like that, but more and more I really fell in love with this type of work, and eventually started my own company because of that, because of those memories, because of those feelings, because of the impact we can have. And now I'm living 14 years here in Mexico, very happily, as you probably can see with my smile from one ear to the other.
I can see, but the people who are listening to us cannot see, but I can confirm that. Now, there was a lot in those things that you just said. I want to go back. Well, first of all, I want to know, is the Mexican girl still around? That's out of curiosity.
Yes.
That's good to know, because I fell in love with a Cypriot boy, and he's still around after nearly 40 years. So it works.
Yes.
Anyway, I want to go back. So you said that you were working in the import-export business of flowers. That's an interesting thing to do.
Yes, that's what I thought back in the days as well. That's why I went in there. I studied horticulture back in my days. In that's over 20 years ago. Time flies when you're having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Studied horticulture in Germany, and then I started working in a big Dutch flower company that bought and distributed foliage and flowers for all the big distribution centers over Europe, and I was their international purchaser for foliage, which is a very important part in flower arrangements. And I traveled for about 3-4 years in a row to Guatemala, Costa Rica, Mexico, the United States, and Canada in order to purchase and quality control these farms and as well rural areas where the product has been sourced. And yeah, like I said, Mexico, Costa Rica as well is beautiful. Guatemala is very beautiful. Those are countries. As a German, I was always looking rather for the palm tree than for the pine tree, and yeah, one thing led to the other, and I decided to move from Holland, which as well, after 6 years living there, was very gray, very windy, very wet, a lot of rain. Yeah, trading that for the Mexican beaches was not a hard decision to make.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. The weather has a big. It's not just the weather. It's like the light. I always feel that you
Yes,
mentioned gray. It's not really only about whether it's rain or not, but it's the light. I think when you are in, I don't know, in Switzerland as well or in Germany, and you wake up in the morning in the winter and it's dark, and you come home when it's dark, and during the day it never really gets. And then you're here. I'm in Cyprus, you're in Mexico, and you have sun all the time. I think
I
it's
couldn't
very
agree more.
hard to go back to the grayness.
I couldn't agree more. It does certainly have an impact on probably your mood as well.
Yes,
But yeah,
absolutely. Even I mean, there's actually there's a disease, or I don't know what it's called SAD. People who have depression because of that darkness.
because of yes, yeah, I have heard about that as well.
Yeah.
And the amount of sun hours you can get is definitely higher here, or the further south you go. Here in Cyprus as well. I have been to Cyprus 2 times, so I kind of know how you enjoy life there. So yeah, with that being said, it is definitely a lovely life. I do live here, and like I said, guiding and now running my own tour company is a very satisfying thing to do. It's
Where are
a
you
lot
based?
of work.
Where are you based? In which part of Mexico?
I'm living in Cancun, which is in the southeast part of Mexico. Mexico is tremendously huge. When I say we, I say we from Europe, we underestimate the size of this country. Me as a German, I always referenced when I was guiding that Mexico is 4 times the size of Germany. So that is giving an idea how huge this country is and how diverse it is. I think I will never stop exploring this country, and will never finish. There are always other places to go since it is that huge. But yeah, um, I'm based in Cancun. Our tour company is in Playa del Carmen, which is just 60 kilometers or about 40 miles south of Cancun. It is a beautiful area called the Riviera Maya, or the Mayan Riviera, and it includes as well Tulum, which many people know as a buzzword. It became very popular over the last couple of years because of the beaches, because of the turquoise waters. And Cancun actually celebrated a couple of years ago its 50th anniversary as the foundation of that city. It's very young. This part of Mexico does not have a lot of history, but it is very beautiful to visit because of the nature, because of the people that are living here. They are very, in general, people from Mexico or Latin America, very warm. They're very welcoming. The food is just lovely, and yeah, there's so many things. I don't know where to start. There's so many things.
Okay, well, we'll
You
take
can
it. We'll take it from the beginning. But
one
I
one
have
step at a time.
I have to tell you that 4 times bigger than Germany. I mean, coming from
Yes.
Switzerland, which is tiny next to Germany, that's amazing. I never ever thought that Mexico is. I mean, I know what it looks like on the map, but I never thought that it's that big.
Yes, like I said, during my guiding, I realized that, and including me, I was in the same boat as you. Like, okay, I know the shape of Mexico from the map, but
Mhm.
you never put it in relation, and it is just a really, really huge country.
Amazing. So you went to Mexico and you became a tour guide because that is something that's very close to my heart. I loved being a tour guide, and I went back recently, the last 2, 3 years, and I started doing hiking tours again because
Oh,
just
lovely.
here in Cyprus and in Greece. But
Yes,
I realized I had forgotten how much I love this job because you were saying, the people arrive and they're all a little bit skeptical and they look at
yes,
you and they wonder, whoa,
especially the Germans.
this. And, and
They don't
they
trust you.
know, and what's he going to be like? What is she going to tell us? And then I think for me, the most beautiful thing is to convert these people into
Yes.
becoming big fans. Do you feel the same?
Ambassadors.
Yes.
Yes, I have exactly the same point of view, and I call actually one of the things I try to convey nowadays to our guides working for us is that we convert our guests into ambassadors of Mexico. In my case, Mexico. In your case, Cyprus or Greece, because we have a unique opportunity as a tour guide. Because these people, as you said, they trust us with their valuable time. The vacation is the second, if not the third most expensive thing a family is saving money for or is spending after a car in the house. So vacation is having a huge impact on their, let's say, economy, but then as well on their memory. And when they come visiting a new country or a country they haven't seen before, they are open-minded. They want to learn something new. They want to see something new. They're out of their daily routine. And that is the uniqueness about the situation we find ourselves as a tour guide with these people, with our guests right in front of us, because we have that window of that one day, or many times it's just a couple of hours, where we actually can show them something new and they are open to receive that. So in my case here, it's a lot about nature. It's a lot about flora and fauna, the animals and the plants and the areas, the culture, and you can put this into their open-minded. You can show that all to them, and they are coming back with many times overwhelmed with colors, with smells, with flavors, with information, and a couple of things stick, and they take that back home and they talk about that. They talk about that experience with you and the way how you transmitted it. And if you're enthusiastic about it, you just said you forgot how much you loved it, because I can see in your face and your expression as well that you are very enthusiastic and passionate about it because you love that country so much and the things you see, and you want to make sure that they take this all home, and that they as well fall in love in the same way as you did. So back when they are in their daily routine with their friends and their colleagues, they talk about the experience they had thanks to you or the company they booked it through, and hopefully it is a positive experience, and they talk very good and well about what they learned, and that makes them an ambassador. And like I said, finishing that up, you see me very excited because you just struck something very important in my life. I learned that we have that unique experience, especially when it comes to animals. We are dealing here with a lot of endangered animals, the sea turtles, sharks, whale sharks, and those are all endangered species. And we show them to our guests. We have the unique opportunity to show them and create that awareness. Many people don't know, and they go back and they talk about that, and they might even change their lifestyle because of that, because they now know that plastic pollution is a big topic and it threatens these endangered species. So having that impact is something very powerful and very beautiful as a tour guide.
I so agree. And I love the word ambassador because that's exactly what it is. Because, that you
Yeah.
want them to go home and tell people what you told them. And another thing that I always thought was, these people could have gone to so many places, to the whole world, but they chose to come here or wherever I was at the time when I was a tour guide. And it is
Yes.
my duty to make their time the best that is possible. And, it mostly worked. Have you had bad experiences? Have you had difficult people around you? I'm sure you did.
The, honestly, difficult people. What I learned over the years, if something you said like bad experiences or difficult experiences, usually it's not about the people, it's about the expectation they have and the expectation if they are not being met. So something I learned over the years is setting up these expectations correctly in the right way, avoiding false expectations. That is 90% of the solution to the challenge. I do not like to talk about problems. Let's talk about challenges, and that is one of the challenges: false expectations. And so the communication before is having a huge impact. Obviously, things can go wrong when we're talking about weather. I remember situations where we were going out to see whale sharks or swim with whale sharks, and a huge thunderstorm came in, which was unpredicted. The Caribbean here, the weather is very unpredictable. You cannot. Many people come here with their weather app in their hand, or they look at the weather app 3 weeks in advance, and they say that day looks really bad. And I can promise them this will be the best day of their vacation because the weather most likely will change anyway. But circling back to that experience, what I have in mind, it was raining a lot, and there were thunders and lightning around us, and the people were very frightened. Us as the professionals that were out on the water on a daily basis, well, for us it is important to convey to them that they are not in danger. But that is a tricky job to do because people are in that situation, no land in sight. We were in the middle of the ocean. That was quite an experience, and that had an impact on myself as well, because obviously as a tour guide, you do not like the idea that your guests are frightened or that they are worried, obviously.
Mhm.
But difficult people, honestly, I do not recall anything you couldn't figure out at the end of the day. You said in the beginning, when people approach you, when you approach them, the first minutes, it's always that, oh, let's figure each other out, right? I was immediately saying, yeah, the Germans are very cautious when I always greet anybody, no matter which. I usually don't know where they are from, and I always say, "Hey, how's it going, guys?" And the Germans would always answer, "So far, so good," or "Not bad." Like they're expecting something bad to happen. This is always like a downer, right? Like, oh well, what a way to start the day. But then you drag them over the hump and you win their hearts. You they see that you genuinely interested in them. And as you said something as well, it's your duty as the guide to make their day the best day of the vacation. Somehow you feel that responsibility. And like I said, if you earn a hug at the end of the tour, you probably did a good job in winning them over. But yeah, answering your question, I don't recall difficult people. Obviously, it depends on many factors. But answering your question, I do not have difficult
Yeah,
people.
it's true. I mean, it's the way you approach them, or when you see that sometimes people are, sometimes people come across as a little arrogant, and they're not arrogant, they're insecure. They are a little bit scared
As
and they
well,
don't know
yes.
what's to come. But
Or you don't know what's happening in their life. I'm sorry
that's
to
true
interrupt, but
too.
now
That is
I recall a situation where a couple, they were in a huge fight. They came into, they started the day with a huge fight. And I had to deal with that the entire day because they
Mhm.
wouldn't speak to each other. And
Yes,
those are, I mean, like I said, it doesn't mean that they are difficult people, but they were going through a difficult time,
they had a bad
apparently.
day.
Yes.
So listen, then when did you start Kai Tours? How long have you been doing this? And why?
We
I
are
mean,
not.
obviously, you had a lot of experience you wanted to work on for yourself. Is it a company that belongs to you alone?
No, nowadays I have partners. But back in the days, like I said, I started as a tour guide because of my language skills. Literally, it was by let's say accident. Someone called me one night, "Hey, can you help me translate from Dutch to English?" And because my Dutch speaking guide is sick, and I okay, cool, let's do that. And it was a great experience. Like I said, in that national park. And long story short, 2 years fast forward, I would get requests from the guests that either are coming back, they would contact me directly, or guests in that tour company would ask me for TripAdvisor reviews. You know how important those are for a company. And I would always say, well, this is the TripAdvisor account for the company I'm working for, and you booked. And there were always, not always, but many times would say, no, Kai, we would like to leave you as the tour guide a review, not the company, because their entire experience through the sales process and et cetera, they were not very satisfied, but they were very satisfied with the experience they had, especially with me as their guide. And this is where they gave me the idea. Why don't you create a TripAdvisor account as tour guide Kai? And this is where everything started. I did not have that idea. I have to admit that the guests were saying, "Do this." And I'm like, that's actually a good idea. Let's do this. And this is how everything started. Tour guide Kai, or the private tour guide Kai. If you look back in the history of my websites, it started like that, tour guide Kai. But then naturally it evolves, the demand grows, and it cannot always be me. I cannot say, well, if I have 2 tours a day, the morning I do this and in the afternoon I do that. So I had to hire guides, and this is where I had to transition into, let's say, the company style. And this is where I decided to call it Kai Tours, for the reason, here in Mayan territory, we are with Mayan heritage. There are a lot of Mayan communities and families here around. Whenever I would visit them and introduce myself as Kai, they would say Kai means fish in Maya. And all of our tours, 90% of our tours, are in the water. And something I learned here moving to Mexico was snorkeling, free diving, scuba diving. And there's a saying, when somebody is really feeling very comfortable, is he's feeling like a fish in the water. So with that being said, it made for me a lot of sense to call the company Kai Tours. And well, this is how everything started with the company. And nowadays, answering your question, we are 11. Actually, in November 4th, on November 4th, I had my first private tour with Kai Tours, or as private tour guide Kai. And we are now 11 years in. We're celebrating our 11th anniversary. And due to COVID, which, as you know, especially in the tourism industry, was a really, really sad time, a very impactful time with no income at all. I merged with another company called Living Dreams Mexico, and nowadays, now we are 5 years in. I'm having 3 more partners, and that is as well thanks to these partners and their knowledge and their enthusiasm and their motivation, and their relentless efforts. This is where we are in these days, with very successful running to a companies.
Yeah, COVID did a lot of damage to people in this industry. Now, do you organize trips, like weekly trips, or do you just do day tours, or what does it? I haven't had a chance to look at your website properly.
It's a very valid question, and not all what we do is on the website, since we offer usually customized, personalized tours. So it's very hard to convey that on a website. We do have a given set of tours in our catalog, which are day tours or half day tours, as we call them. They are usually private tours. This is how everything started. A family does not like the idea of going through a couple of hotels, having multiple pickups, and losing a lot of time while they're picking up other people before the actual excursions start. So the concept of a private tour, we only come for you to the hotel, and then we go to the destination you would like to see. And then as well, people are saying, you know what, I do not like the set itinerary. Can we? I do not like swimming. Let me say it like that. Can we skip that and put something else in? I'm a foodie. I would like to see three more restaurants and street food, etc., etc. So those are the things we are very good in putting together. And answering question, we do 99% day tours. And if people are reaching out to us and they would like to put something together, like a multi-day tour, we also can put this together, and I'm more than happy to do so. But it is not on our website that we announce it, that we do multi-day tours. Not at this point. Let me say it like that. As well, something that happens over the years, you get so busy, you only can attend so many things, and the multi-day tours and putting that on a website and building that department out just hasn't been on my priority list at this point. But we have done them, we do them, and we are totally capable of doing them and love to do them as well, because it's a different experience as well if you're traveling with your tour guide for multiple days.
So it's kind of tailor-made.
You do.
Tailor-made.
Yes.
People tell you what they want, and you create it for them.
Yes, that's what we do as well.
Yeah.
And it's something we are very fortunate with Mexico. As you can imagine, we spoke about the dimensions and the diversity of Mexico. So there are hundreds of things, and I'm not exaggerating, but there are hundreds of things you can do. So what happens, usually people look around on the internet, they do their own research, but then many times they're getting overwhelmed by what is there to do. There are so many things to do. So we, in the first place, become an advisor. We become an advisor is probably the right word. We ask them, okay, what are your interests? What's your family like? Or are you just a couple? Are you a young couple, adventurous? Or are you elderly people that mostly, those are more interested in the food and less in the cliff jumping? Let me say it like that. So we evaluate, and then we tailor towards their needs and guide them into a couple of itineraries, and then they pick what they like the most.
So if somebody wants to contact you, they can contact you through your website. Say Mexico for beginners. Somebody has 2 weeks and they are just ordinary people. They don't have any special interests. There's no cliff jumping involved. There is no. What would you recommend?
Oh, it's just one example. It starts. I would say Mexico for beginners. That's a great way to look at it. I think you should start in our area, not because I'm here, but it is usually you do not come from an area where you have a lot of beaches or beautiful beaches the way we have it. The sand is really white here. The water is crystal clear. We do have a natural and geological phenomena called the sinkholes or the cenotes, which are natural sinkholes which are filled with fresh water that is crystal clear. If you have not experienced that before, it will blow your mind. You mentioned something in the beginning that you forgot how much you love that job. We tend to forget those first moments. The first moment you see a sea turtle snorkeling, you forget how impactful that is. And now I remember my first time jumping into a cenote with goggles on. You see underwater the same way you see above water. The visibility is 100%, and that is something you cannot convey. And if you haven't experienced that before, it is hard to explain and to understand. So those are the things where I say, if you consider Mexico, I would certainly say consider going to Cancun. Cancun is the national airport. We do have a second national airport, international airport in Tulum. I would not necessarily recommend to stay in Cancun. It is very touristy, especially for the European mindset. Let me say it like that. I would highly recommend to consider something further south, maybe Puerto Morelos or Playa del Carmen, as well. In the center of the Yucatan Peninsula, there is a city called Merida, which is the safest city in Mexico, and There are so many things. I don't know where to start. Mayan ruins, ancient cities, the sinkholes, reef snorkeling, the national parks, and the food as well. But yeah, Mexico for beginners, I would highly recommend to consider the Mayan Riviera and Cancun area.
Interesting. I have to tell you something funny because you were saying that one forgets how it felt to see something for the first time. I worked for a company called Kuoni. I don't, you probably know them, very Swiss, big Swiss tour operator. And we were not allowed to say that we were on a tour for the first time, because sometimes
Yes.
we were on the first time.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Very
will
strict to
never,
not mention that.
no, I will never forget the first time I saw the Grand Canyon. I got out of the bus and I walked across, I don't
As
know,
the tour guide.
as the tour guide, and I thought,
Blown away.
oh my God. And I had to stand there and say, like, oh, I've been here 100 times. It's nothing special. That this is kind of a moment. I mean, it's like nearly 40 years ago, but I will never forget. And you're right, you forget about how it feels when you do something for the first time. And
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going through a couple of emotions right now while you were saying that, because it's not only the sea turtles. I jumped into the water swimming with the biggest fish in the world, whale sharks, and then I was like, did that happen to me? That I was actually guiding people when I was in the first time in the water, and it did not. We did trainings, and I did it on my own and on a private matter with friends and whatever. So I did not have that experience, like being for the first time out there with my guests and experience it as well for the first time. But I totally understand where you're coming from with the Grand Canyon. You said, right?
yes. So, but I think that the way you sound, you actually make me want to go to Mexico. I've been to Mexico many years ago. I really have.
Look at me. I will convert you into an ambassador.
I will think about it. I want to just touch one thing. Many people say, oh, Mexico, it's dangerous. They have all these rock dealers and I don't know what else. What do you say to them? Do people ask you that when they get there at the beginning? Is
Yes.
on people's minds?
Unfortunately, the media works best transmitting something negative. It does not reach the headlines when they say Elizabeth had a great time in Mexico. That is very unfortunate. Our main market, or the most people we are getting here, are from the US, and the US, I would almost call it propaganda, is saying a lot of bad things about Mexico, and um, I don't want to diminish it. Mexico has a lot of, as many countries, has a lot of problems or challenges, and uh, but when it comes to tourism, the Mexicans are very aware. Even the bad people are very aware that this is good for the country. The tourism is the second most important industry for Mexico, and they are taking a lot of pride, but as well a lot of care of those areas. And the Cancun area is the biggest tourism industry in Mexico, or the area produces the most tourism wise. And what I'm trying to say is, what I can tell the people is that the tourist areas are fine. You do not have to worry about anything here. When you compare it with American countries, many times they are more dangerous. And the Americans, they deny that. They don't like to hear that, obviously. But compared to Europe, for example, there is nothing to worry about. And this applies to many countries. Like I said, I used to live in Holland, very close to Amsterdam. I walked through the streets in the middle of the night through Amsterdam, where I saw a lot of things where I just applied common sense and have been safe, and was safe, because I would not walk down that aisle, or I would not buy drugs from that guy that is offering at the street corner from me. And what I'm trying to say is, wherever you go, it does not have to do with Mexico. Wherever you go, bigger cities, they all have their challenges. And if you as a tourist are not If you apply common sense, you are totally fine. And yeah, that's all I can say. Mexico is a beautiful country. Consider it. You will not regret it. I have many people coming back for many times, not only once. Just 2 years ago, a German. I almost consider him as a friend because he's always now texting me on WhatsApp whenever they come back, and he's like, "You might consider me as a very boring guy, but we're coming back to Mexico." I'm like, "Well, this is wonderful." And as you said before, they could go to so many other countries. There are so many beautiful destinations all over the world, and they choose to come repetitively to Mexico. This is for me always very heartwarming. Always speaking a lot about this country and the quality of the vacation they can have here.
This is beautiful. And I think your last part here was the perfect advertising speech for Mexico. I totally agree with you with the common sense bit because, sometimes people are just stupid. They do
I
things.
didn't mean to say that.
No, but it's true. I can say that.
I'm glad you said that, yes.
I have seen it. I have experienced it. I have been stupid myself. I've been very lucky in my life because, and but generally, no country has any interest that something happens to a tourist, especially a country. No country, but especially a country where you say tourism is the second source of income, the second biggest source of income. So I totally believe that it's safe. And the thing about safety is, you can get run over by a car in Berlin. So it's true. So listen, I think we're already nearly 40 minutes in. I'm going to end here. Kay Tours, we are going to put the website in the show notes.
Appreciate that. Thank
you. Contact Kay if you want to go to Mexico, if you want to have a tailor-made tour or holiday. And it was a huge pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you having me here. Thank you very much. We are very present on social media. Just look for Kay Tours. You find a lot of information there. And Elisabeth, thank you very much for having me on your podcast.
Thank you for being on Most Memorable Journeys.
Thank you.
If you enjoy my podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. You will find all the information in the show notes.